Good evening. Today is Monday, 28th of March 2022. The time is 8 p.m. in Canberra. We'll begin the weekly Bangla radio program from Canberra, 2XX community radio station. This program is being broadcasted by the courtesy of Community Broadcasting Foundation Limited and Bangladesh Australia Association Canberra. Each Monday at 8 p.m. the program is broadcasted on FM 98.3 MHz.
Tonight the program is presented by me, Adiba, Ahmed, and Adnin, Zahid. Tonight's program will be about the reality TV dating show called Love is Blind, which brought out a new season 2.
And kind of it ties to the concept of arranged marriage, which we all know is a concept that has existed in our culture for many, many years now. So Adiba, did you want to kick it off in terms of how you thought of the show in general?
So
first time watching, right? I watched the first season, so I'm quite familiar with the show.
Yeah, so I think I watched maybe the first 2 episodes of the first season when it first came out because it was sort of quite hyped around my circle of friends, but it didn't really capture me at that time. And then for no real reason, I think maybe because we were technically somewhat in lockdown in Canberra, I just started the second season of Love is Blind, and it really captivated me, and in particularly it captivated me because of a specific couple, which we will get into. And then after I watched it, I've been obsessed with it for a while now, and I've been missing it, to be honest. I mean, I'm okay now, but to be honest, quite soon after, I was really missing it, and I watched it when the first 9 episodes had been released, but I was waiting for the 10th, so I didn't know the conclusion, and I was waiting for the reunion. But after watching it, I thought it was a really good topic to speak with you about on the show, because basically the show is based on a version of arranged marriage in a way. And I got excited about that, thinking that you'd find it relatable, so I recommended it to you. So do you want to talk about your experience watching it?
So my thoughts on the show were, I think it's a good concept, but I think maybe a bit unrealistic in the day and age that we live in, but it comes from a good place, and the show surprisingly has had some successful couples come out of it. But I think overall the show really does give you a good insight into how tricky relationships can be. Any and every relationship has issues, and I think it gives you a really good insight into that. And it doesn't matter how new or old the relationship is, there'll be different sorts of issues, and it really shines a light on those kinds of issues and how they can be good, bad, or in between for a relationship.
So Love is Blind is a dating reality television show that premiered in Netflix in 2020 for the first season, and then the second season came out in 2022. Basically, the format of the show is that it follows 15 men and 15 women, all from the same location, who are looking to find love. And there are 3 steps that they go through, and for the first one, it's called the pods, which you spend 10 days, and the men and the women essentially date each other in the purpose-built pods. They can speak to each other through speakers, but they cannot physically see each other. They literally are facing a wall. The pods are quite nice. It's made to be comfortable. They sit, they take notes as they listen to each other, but it's literally this intense, just a huge long conversation. And then at first, I think because of the number of people, it's a bit speed dating at first, but as the days go on, you do tend to choose people who you're more interested in, who are interested in you, and you have longer dates. And then within the pod's time frame, if a couple feels that they have grown feelings for each other, or they are interested in each other in a long-term sense, then they can actually propose to one another. Once the proposal is accepted, the couples then become engaged, and they go to a second step, the honeymoon, which is like a couples retreat at a nice resort. So for season 2, they all went to Cancun, Mexico. This is the time they get to sort of see more of how they're physically compatible. And then the third step, which is when they actually get to see how their partners live in real life. And they get to also meet family and friends and sort of see how each other fits into their daily lives. And maybe there's a chance to speak about how they see finances, what they do for fun, and see how they each live. And then basically the last step is if they are both still keen to get married, then they can get married at the altar, which is when their wedding happens. And now, with the way Love is Blind is, they're very much heavily encouraged to wait until they get to the altar before they say I do or I do not. So that's a bit of a rundown of the show. And so we also wanted to just talk about a few of the couples that are in season 2, Ayana and Jared.
So just for context as well, these guys actually ended up married by the end of the TV show. They were one of 2 couples that ended up married. Their start-off was interesting because Ayana was not Jared's first choice. From the get-go, I was a little bit unsure of them and their stability in a relationship, just because he had expressed quite clearly, and she was also aware of the fact that she wasn't his first pick. So I almost kind of felt that in that case, and she said it herself, like, I want to be someone's number 1. I don't want to be someone's number 2. I deserve better than that. So I was actually really surprised that they went through and actually ended up saying yes to getting married, considering their rocky beginnings.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I'd done at the end of episode 9 was me and my friend, we were, like, quite a few of my friends were really into it, but me and this one friend, we were super into it. We actually messaged each other who we thought would say yes and who we thought would say no. And I actually had flagged Ayana as a no and Jared as a yes, because I thought that they might not work out long term, because when they're actually living together, there's a period of time where Jared goes out till 3 a.m. 3 times in a week, whereas Ayana's more, and there's nothing, look, if that's someone's choice, nothing wrong with that. But Ayana, in comparison, is more of like a homebody, seems a lot more introverted. So I thought that was a very interesting thing. I wasn't quite sure if they would work out for that, for one of that being one of the reasons.
And it kind of showed us, look, opposites can sometimes attract, and if you're willing to make it work and compromise. And in the reunion episode, they said, yeah, we've been compromising by her going out a bit more and not staying home as much, and him also on certain days staying home with her a bit. So I guess they proved us wrong. And then they proved that, you know what, like, even despite differences, like, if you're willing to put in the work, you can make it work, which I think was a really good example and message from the 2 of them.
Yeah, I really liked that. I liked that in reunion they spoke about that, and like they seemed just so comfortable with each other in the reunion, like it made me really happy to say that. So there's another couple that I want to talk about, which was quite interesting to watch and a little bit dramatic at times, which is Danielle and Nick. So Danielle is 29 and she's an Associate Director of Marketing, and Nick is 36 and a VP of Product Marketing. What did you think of this couple?
They were interesting as well. They seemed to, I didn't realize their age difference, first and foremost, but from what they showed in the show, like, he was definitely very, very mature, had his stuff together, had a nice place, had his finances sorted, had a house, was quite stable, quite sensible, quite professional. Whereas Danielle was, not that she wasn't, but she was still kind of in her more maybe younger party kind of days, or just wasn't as like put together as Nick. And she was a bit insecure, and that led to a lot of issues in their relationship and lots of fights and misunderstandings, and they could never quite be on the same page, I felt. They always kind of, they did communicate, but they misinterpreted each other when they did communicate, which led to even more issues, I found. So again, I was very interested that they decided to get married, but maybe again, like, it shows that they're willing to push through and look over each other's flaws and look over their issues to just kind of continue on together. So I didn't think they were going to last, not at all.
Yeah, I thought Nick would say no, especially with the way that they edited it, and he was sweating so heavily at the end of episode 9 that I was like, ooh, Nick's going to say no. But I found them a very interesting couple, and I found Danielle relatable to a certain point. Like, in my past, I've felt super insecure, and I've always felt like, you know, I'm drawing my power, or I'm drawing my sustenance from the people around me, whether they're like a friend or whether they're like family. Like I found it so hard to sort of give that confidence to myself, and I found Danielle really relatable up to a certain stage. I don't think I've sort of experienced clearly the level of trauma she must have experienced in past relationships for her to react the way she sort of did. And something that I really appreciated was at the reunion, Nick and Danielle, they clearly said, like, we went to couples counseling, we learned different communication styles, and like and I think they both were really there for the right reasons, and they were clearly like committed. I really liked that about them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but like, did you thought that Nick was going to say no, didn't you? Yeah.
I did, just with the way they edited it. At this stage, I was apparently a lot of later on as Netflix released the show, a lot of people, because they've all gone like mental on social media. I shouldn't say mental, but they're all becoming more and more popular on social media.
Of course, being part of such a big show will do that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm pretty sure they're all verified now. Like, they all have the blue ticks and everything. But like, while we were still waiting for episode 10 and 11 to come out, social media was exploding with them. And like Danielle actually got a lot of criticism for the way she behaved. People were saying like, you know, it was a bit over the top, and she was really dramatic, and people were saying like, if she's this insecure, she's not ready to be in a relationship, which I actually sort of agreed. But in the end, like, obviously it's Danielle's choice, it's Nick's choice, they choose each other, they're committed to each other. But I kind of almost felt, when I watched it myself, I thought that it seemed like Danielle was still dealing with her trauma. But then lately, I've also been listening to a therapist watch it. So on YouTube, there's a psychologist called Dr. Kirk Honda, and he's watching the show and giving he's not diagnosing anyone, because you can't do that watching a TV show. He very much caveats that I'm not diagnosing anyone, but he gives sort of like, these behaviors seem to indicate X kind of thing. So he actually said that the way that Danielle tries to communicate to Nick and speaks about what she's going through shows that she's actually very in tune with her feelings, which and the wording she uses seems to come as it seems to indicate that she's actually already gone through some therapy, just based on the way she does interact in those quiet moments when she's trying to help Nick understand why she feels like this. So that psychologist was basically indicating that he thinks she actually has already gone through some therapy just based on the way she like articulated something. So I thought that was really interesting, because when I first watched it, I was like, no, she's so lovely and clearly so loving. I feel so much for her, and I think she deserves to be in a relationship. But with the way she's sort of treating Nick at times, it's like, does she need to work on herself first and then she's like ready? But yeah, so those were things I was sort of thinking. But and even the psychologist,
maybe a little bit of the way that it was edited or portrayed, maybe something to
so what I was actually talking about, sorry, when I started the social media tangent, is during the reunion there was a lot of talk of like, did X get a bad edit? And did you notice something? They used these gold like wine glasses in so many episodes. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that, no.
So that's because it's easier to edit. Because if you're watching something and they're talking and they're chopping and changing bits, you'll notice if their wine glasses, the amount of the liquid changes. You'll be like, oh, that's clearly edited. So it was so weird. Even in their homes, they were using these gold wine glasses, and I kept thinking, what is that?
No, I did not notice that at all.
I was on the fan page for the show on Reddit, and there were like people who are in production and things. They were like, no, this is why this, because they're trying to avoid the edit. And then someone actually posted in that Reddit page the food. So it was one of another couple, Mallory and Sal's conversations. They were having this huge discussion, and you couldn't tell where was edited because of the wine glasses were standard. But then you'd watch how his food would keep appearing and disappearing. So it clearly was edited.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. Well, yeah, then there's a third couple.
Also talking about Natalie and Shane, but I think maybe they were the most I thought they were the couple that was going to last.
Hmm.
That's why I was like kind of a little bit rooting for them. Because they seem solid, they seem to get along each other, they're very fun. They're both quite young, I think, and young and outgoing, quite spontaneous. Yeah, they just got along. Everyone said like, if anyone's gonna last, it's gonna be these guys. And everything was perfect right up until the last night before the wedding when they had a massive fight. Yeah, and it must have been a really, really brutal fight. Because that one fight made them call off the wedding because they were both going to say yes. But some really hurtful things were said. They didn't release the details of the night. But yeah, it seemed like some really hurtful things were said, and things are just going to be taken back, and meant that they couldn't go through the wedding.
I was really sad. So Shane, for me, did a complete 180 from the pods. During the pods, I found Shane so unbearable. I found, you know, he even calls himself like he self-confesses that he's a jerk or something like that.
Yeah.
And his voice is really distinguishable, and his laugh, like, I remember, like, after I watched the first few episodes, like, I recorded myself imitating his laugh to my friend, and she immediately.
Oh really?
Yeah, I can't do it anymore. He has this very distinct laugh, and like his behavior in the pods were really turning me off. I felt like he was red flags everywhere.
Player. He definitely was kind of player vibes to him, so I can see where that comes from. Yeah. But he was quite genuine, like with Natalie. Would you say so?
After they came out, because if you recall in the pods, there was that whole kerfuffle between Shane, Natalie, and Shayna. Yeah. And that Natalie didn't even know that someone else was interested in Shane. She only found out after this all sort of happened. And especially when she said at the reunion when she watched it back and she saw the way Shane and Shayna spoke to each other, like, I think that really cemented her decision, because apparently even after Natalie said no at the altar, her and Shane did try to give it a go again. I think the issue, those core issues just never left. And I shouldn't say it like this, but like, I almost felt like Shane, cause him being a realtor, he very much fit that picture. Like when he was like, you know, I spent thousands of dollars on my teeth. So like, I don't, he was like, I don't want to be, superficial, but if the girl's missing a front tooth. But yeah, his behavior in the pods like really turned me off him. But then when he came out and he really focused on Natalie, I thought he was so sweet. And he actually, he became one of my favorite guys, which I didn't
think. Yeah, he was quite genuine and like, he was quite like into the relationship, and but it was a shame that it didn't work out.
And I personally don't know if I could handle sort of, because one of the things that he seemed to be doing in the relationship, and something that actually I do still find a bit of a red flag, was when he was telling the guys in the pods, I like Natalie, and someone asked him, why do you like Natalie? He said, I like that she likes me. And I was like, oh, that's a little bit of a concern. And then when they came out, as sweet as they were together, he kept seeking seeking affirmation from Natalie. And
I think that was warranted, like, as in, just because he's a quote unquote good looking guy and has good job, etc., like, doesn't mean that he doesn't have his insecurities. And I think he was kind of trying to, get that kind of validation and affirmation from his partner, and she would always kind of joke about it. So I think that's where he came from with that.
Yeah, no, I feel like in those moments, their personalities didn't really seem to suit in those early moments, but then they sort of seemed to figure it out, and he seemed to understand that though she might be a bit sarcastic and jokey, it didn't mean anything, like she wasn't trying to be cruel. And then I think she also started to give him more affirmation as time went on, but yeah, unfortunately they didn't last. They both have me stalking them on Instagram lately. They both have like revenge bodies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, Shane, I think, already had a great, like, body and stuff, but, like, he got, he was flaunting his six-pack, apparently they're, like...
quite good-looking, I would say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very good-looking couple, and very good-looking people as well.
Yeah.
And now we come to the couple that I was the most invested in, which is Sheikh Abhishek Chatterjee and Deepthi Venpati, and they were why I kept watching.
Okay, well, tell me everything about them.
So Deepthi is an information data analyst, and she's 31, and Abhishek, or known as Sheikh Chatterjee, is a vet and a house DJ. So when he first got introduced, I wanted so much to approve of him because them, and especially both of them being from an Indian background, like I felt like I could really relate, and I found it really ironic, and I think you did too, that these guys came on a blind dating show, which sort of lends to the idea of arranged marriage, where they actually have arranged marriage in their culture, and they very easily could have gone down that route as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Which makes you think, did they come on it for the fame or the spotlight? I think Sheikh definitely did.
I definitely would agree that Sheikh did. Deepthi, I think, maybe for the experience, but she also seems like a very genuine person. She's actually, I think, the first one out of all of them to crack the 1 million followers on Instagram. I was watching her number because I liked her profile when she was like on 20K or something, and like legit in weeks, boom, 1 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I would always say Deepthi's sort of the star of season 2 because, I mean, I guess to give a little bit more...
feel for her.
Yeah, everyone really felt for her.
Treated and the way that...
And let's walk through that. So what happened was in the pods, Deepthi and Sheikh, they first connected because they realized that they were both of the same background, and they both also connected because they'd both only ever dated quote unquote white people, and this would be their first partner who would be of an Indian background. So they actually found that not seeing each other, because they might not naturally have a preference towards each other, they seem to have a natural preference towards other types of people, not seeing each other but still being able to relate to each other very, very deeply, they seem to build quite a strong emotional connection on the pods. At first we see and Sheikh says he got a bad edit, that's what he says, but apparently on the reunion they were saying no, they made him look a lot better than some of the things he said. But like he was sort of played for jokes at first. He was asking some of the other girls, even Deepthi, questions that might indicate what they look like and whether they're possibly overweight or not, because Sheikh seemed to have this very specific body type, and everyone can have a preference. Totally understand that.
He didn't. The show itself was about not being, it was putting the superficial, putting the looks, etc. behind and making an emotional connection. Hence the show is called Love is Blind.
Absolutely. So it's like he even admitted he came on Love is Blurry. He thought he joined Love is Blurry. But yeah, and he was asking questions like, if we went to a concert, do you think I could put you on my shoulders? And then Deepthi actually called him out on it, and I think, and then as from what he says, is that made him think, wait, no one else is asking these superficial questions, why am I? And then he seemed to sort of come to this realization, and then I think that then it seemed that they grew an emotional connection. So Sheikh did propose to Deepthi, and from all indications looked like everything was going to go really well. But once they met in person, Sheikh sort of didn't really grow that physical interest in Deepthi. And that's that's all right. That's totally understandable. However, what he did that was not great was he spoke about this behind her back to so many people.
He didn't actually ever raise it with her until right at the end is what I found.
Like we watched Deepthi almost go from this I want to just have babies with him. Like she says that at one point to her. You see her withdrawing.
He said that too.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, it was really gross when they first met in person that he actually whispered in her ear. I don't even want to repeat exact words, but I was watching that. I was like, I can't ever watch this in front of my parents. Yeah, so Sheikh's definitely a very interesting character. I think a lot can be said about him. But if I thought Shane had red flags, I should have reserved all those flags for Shane.
Yeah, I agree. He had red flags. He was on the show for superficial reasons. He wanted someone that was hot, that was exactly his type, and then, well, that's not what you came on the show for, because the show you don't get to see the person. The way he spoke about women was quite derogatory. A lot of people called him out on it, even during the reunion. He had no remorse in terms of the way that he spoke or the way that he acted, and he even the kind of the people who ran the show as well called him out on it and were quite disgusted by his behavior. But yeah, no accountability, no apology. Continued to kind of be like, like all the ex-women are attractive, but are beautiful, but I only find one woman attractive who wasn't even in the show. Who kind of says that out loud, that I don't find anyone here attractive. I find
and her husband was there in front of
the show host attractive. Like, that was appalling behavior.
And something Deepti was saying was, like, the more like, now that it's over, like, the more I observe Sheikh, or the more time I just watch him, I realize that he just doesn't know how to regulate his behavior. And I thought that was so true. I really felt that at the reunion, just the way that he was responding, everyone.
Yeah. So at the end, I'm really proud of what Deepti did. She said, no, I deserve better. I deserve someone who puts me first and makes me feel special, and he doesn't do that. And I deserve.
What did you think of his parents? Because his mum was so, so sweet, in the sense that when he sort of admitted to his mum how he was feeling about Deepti in terms of physically, she said to him that, to be honest, I'm relating more to her, I'm understanding her position more, and that she doesn't deserve a cent less, she deserves so much. So I really appreciated that, because I think there is a bit of...
Mum took her side and didn't think he was in the right.
And I love that, because I think there's also something in our culture which is very much like mummy's boys and my son is always correct kind of thing, and my daughter-in-law is never right. I feel like that's something in the subcontinental culture. So it was really great to see that his mum didn't immediately take his side. And also, like, his parents seemed like such great people. I don't know how Sheikh's ended up the way he has.
They're not responsible for his behavior as an adult, as in he kind of took his own way with women, and
Yeah, and I feel like that must be from a place of deep insecurity and deep, I think, self-hate, because he had a lot of those, I'm not sure if the term is this, it's reverse racism or something like that, but like, while I understand that both he and Deepti had this preference towards people not of the same race as them, Sheikh seemed to take it to a whole new level of, like, just like absolutely opposed to Indian women. And with something he would say about Deepti behind her back was, she reminds me of my aunt.
Yeah,
like I can't. Yeah,
emotional connection. It's like we're family, but she's not hot. Like I couldn't. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah. So like it felt like he just stringently categorized like specific types of women as women he can be intimate with in that way. But Indian women, no, they're just my aunt, my relative. Like, they're not sexual beings at all. So I thought that was a really interesting sort of dichotomy he had going on there. And like, without I can't diagnose myself. I'm not a psychologist myself, but I feel like there was a lot of indications that there was some sort of personality disorder there.
Yeah. I think a lot of us had a lot of things to say about them, but I'm happy that Deepti was there. She deserves much better, and he will definitely realize that he lost at some point down the track, I'm sure.
I love that. Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting seeing this arranged marriage concept be applied to more than just an Indian couple, but to see it applied to couples of varying races and see how it sort of worked.
Yeah, and it definitely had a success. It was definitely successful in some cases, definitely unsuccessful in other cases, but it definitely showed me an overall that, like, yeah, arranged marriage does have potential to work if people from this many different religions and ethnicities and countries are doing it and finding something, then there definitely is some merit in it.
Yeah, and I think that
it can be quite a beautiful, not a beautiful, but like quite a up and down, but overall like net positive experience.
Yeah, and I think what really underpins it is the person themselves, their values, and their willingness to make it work. Like with the couples that did stay together, Ayana, Jarrett, Danielle, Nick, I feel like all four of them actually did go onto the show knowing that, yes, I want to find a lifelong partner, sort of chose the best that suited them at the time, but then the commitment to make it work is what's kept them together. At least that's sort of my point of view.
I agree. No, 100% agree with that.
We have reached the end of our program. We hope that you've enjoyed. We invite you to send your opinion to Bangla Radio Canberra to the following email, banglaradio@gmail.com. You're invited to follow Bangla Radio on Twitter and Facebook. If you join our Facebook or Twitter group, we will send you our weekly program description. Our programs are archived in banglaradio.org.au website and on our new Bangla Radio Canberra YouTube channel. If you want, you can also listen to our previous programs anytime on your mobile devices using our Bangla Radio Canberra Listen app. This Listen app is now freely available from Apple App Store and Google Play Store. The next Bangla Radio program will be broadcasted on next Monday at 8 p.m. We welcome you to join us. Wherever you are, we hope that you stay well in peace and happiness. Good night.